They're hiding the truth about Roman Reigns' medical condition from you. WWE's corporate machine is working overtime to cover up the devastating injuries Roman suffered during that brutal attack at Clash at the Castle in Paris, and what I'm about to reveal will make you furious about how they're treating their biggest star. The leaked medical reports that I've obtained show injuries so severe that WWE doctors are questioning whether Roman Reigns should ever step foot in a wrestling ring again. But instead of being honest with the fans who have supported him for over a decade, WWE is feeding you lies about his condition while secretly panicking about the long-term consequences of what happened in Paris. Right now, Roman Reigns is sitting in a private medical facility getting treatment for injuries that WWE is classifying as minor bumps and bruises, while the real medical documentation shows potential career-ending damage that could affect him for the rest of his life. The attack that happened after Clash at the Castle wasn't just a storyline beatdown, it was a systematic assault that left Roman Reigns with injuries so serious that WWE's insurance company is already preparing for the worst-case scenario. And the corporate suits are more concerned about protecting their stock price than protecting the man who built their entire company on his back. But here's what makes this situation absolutely disgusting. Here's what should make every wrestling fan sick to their stomach. WWE knew the attack was going to be more violent than originally planned, and they let it happen anyway because they were more concerned about creating a memorable moment than protecting Roman Reigns' long-term health. The leaked backstage footage from Paris shows WWE officials discussing the intensity level of the planned attack with the wrestlers involved, and multiple sources confirm that Roman Reigns himself expressed concerns about the planned violence but was told to trust the process by management. Trust the process. They told Roman Reigns to trust them with his body and his career, and now he's dealing with injuries that could end everything he's worked for while they lie to your face about his medical condition. The confidential medical reports that leaked from the private facility where Roman is receiving treatment paint a horrifying picture of the damage done during that attack. We're talking about potential spinal compression, possible traumatic brain injury symptoms, and soft tissue damage that could require months of intensive rehabilitation. But WWE's public statements? Roman Reigns is dealing with some soreness but is expected to make a full recovery soon. Lies. Complete and total lies designed to protect their corporate interests while Roman suffers in silence. The attack itself was supposed to last 3 minutes according to the original script. Instead, it went on for over 8 minutes of sustained brutality that left Roman Reigns unconscious on the arena floor while WWE cameras kept rolling because they thought the realism would create better television. Better television. They prioritized entertainment value over human safety, and now one of the greatest wrestlers of all time might never be the same again. The leaked audio from backstage medical personnel immediately after the attack reveals the panic that set in when Roman Reigns didn't regain consciousness as quickly as expected. "We need to get him to a hospital now," one medic can be heard saying. "This is way beyond what we prepared for." But instead of rushing Roman to the nearest medical facility, WWE officials spent precious minutes discussing how to handle the situation from a PR perspective while Roman lay motionless receiving basic first aid that was clearly inadequate for his condition. The delay in proper medical treatment could have made his injuries significantly worse. Every minute they wasted discussing corporate image was another minute that Roman's brain and body weren't getting the critical care they desperately needed. And when they finally did transport him to a medical facility, it wasn't to the nearest hospital, it was to a private clinic that specializes in keeping celebrity medical information confidential. They were more concerned about controlling the narrative than getting Roman the best possible immediate care. The medical timeline that leaked shows a pattern of decisions that prioritized WWE's corporate interests over Roman Reigns' health at every single step. From the delayed transport to the choice of medical facility to the ongoing cover-up of his true condition. But here's where this situation gets even more infuriating. The wrestlers who carried out the attack have been told by WWE legal to keep quiet about what really happened, even though several of them are reportedly feeling guilty about the extent of damage they caused. Multiple sources confirm that the attackers themselves didn't realize how seriously they had injured Roman until they saw him lose consciousness. They thought they were participating in a controlled storyline beatdown, but the reality was much more dangerous than anyone anticipated. The leaked text messages between the wrestlers involved showed genuine concern and regret about what happened. "I think we went too far," one message reads. "Roman wasn't responding right after that last shot." Another wrestler texted, "Management kept telling us to keep going even when it was obvious something was wrong. Management kept telling them to keep going." Even when it was clear that Roman Reigns was seriously injured, WWE officials prioritized continuing the segment over stopping to check on his condition. This reveals a corporate culture that treats wrestlers as expendable entertainment products rather than human beings whose health and safety should be the top priority. They literally watched their biggest star get brutalized beyond the plan limits and told everyone to keep going for the sake of television. The confidential medical evaluations that have leaked paint an even more disturbing picture of Roman's current condition. The initial brain scan showed concerning signs that required immediate specialist consultation. The spinal imaging revealed compression issues that could affect his mobility and strength permanently. But WWE's public medical updates have mentioned none of these serious concerns. They're treating fans like idiots who will believe whatever sanitized version of events they choose to present. The private medical facility where Roman is being treated specializes in sports-related brain injuries and spinal trauma. This isn't where you send someone with minor bumps and bruises, this is where you send someone whose career and long-term quality of life are in serious jeopardy. The leaked conversation between WWE executives and the medical team reveals just how serious Roman's condition really is. We're looking at a minimum of 6 months before we can even assess his ability to return to physical activity, one doctor explains. And that's assuming everything goes perfectly with his treatment and rehabilitation. 6 months minimum. But WWE is telling fans that Roman Reigns will be back soon while internally preparing for the possibility that he might never wrestle again. The insurance documentation that leaked shows WWE already filing claims for potential permanent disability coverage for Roman Reigns. They're literally preparing paperwork for the scenario where his wrestling career is over while publicly maintaining that his injuries are minor. This level of deception is unprecedented in professional wrestling. They're lying to millions of fans about the condition of their biggest star while secretly preparing for the worst-case scenario. But the most disgusting aspect of this cover-up is how they're using Roman's own loyalty against him. The leaked phone conversations show WWE officials convincing Roman to go along with their public narrative by appealing to his sense of responsibility to the company and the fans. "We need to control this story to protect the business," one executive can be heard saying. "If the real extent of your injuries becomes public, it could affect our stock price and upset the fans who are looking forward to your return." They're manipulating Roman Reigns into participating in his own medical cover-up by making him feel responsible for WWE's corporate interests and fan expectations. They're using his dedication to the business against him while he's dealing with potentially career-ending injuries. The psychological manipulation is sickening. Roman Reigns is vulnerable, injured, and dependent on WWE for his medical care, and they're using that position to convince him to lie about his own condition. The leaked medical notes show that Roman has been experiencing severe headaches, memory issues, and mobility problems since the attack. These are classic symptoms of serious brain and spinal trauma, but WWE's public updates have mentioned none of these concerning developments. Instead, they keep releasing generic statements about Roman being in good spirits and working hard on his recovery, while the reality is that he's struggling with symptoms that could indicate permanent damage. The private conversations between Roman and his family members that have leaked show the real impact of his injuries. "Some days I can barely remember conversations from an hour ago," Roman admits to a family member. "And the headaches are so bad I can't even watch TV sometimes." This is not someone dealing with minor soreness, this is someone dealing with potentially life-altering injuries that could affect his cognitive function and quality of life forever. But WWE keeps pushing their false narrative while Roman suffers in private, afraid to speak out because he's been convinced that telling the truth would hurt the company and disappoint the fans. The medical specialists treating Roman have reportedly expressed concern about WWE's involvement in his care decisions. Several doctors have apparently recommended treatments and therapies that WWE has discouraged because they would require longer recovery times that don't fit their business timeline. They're literally interfering with Roman Reigns' medical care to serve their corporate interests. They're more concerned about getting him back on television than ensuring he receives the treatment that's best for his long-term health. The leaked emails between WWE medical staff and the private facility show ongoing tension about treatment protocols. The independent doctors want to prioritize Roman's complete recovery, while WWE-affiliated medical personnel keep pushing for faster timelines that could compromise his healing. "Patients' long-term health should be the only consideration," one independent doctor writes. "Any attempt to accelerate return to physical activity before complete healing could result in permanent disability." But WWE's response shows their true priorities. "We understand the medical concerns, but we also have business obligations and fan expectations to consider. Is there any way to expedite the recovery process?" Business obligations. They're treating Roman Reigns' brain and spinal injuries as business obstacles rather than serious medical conditions that require proper time and care to heal. The financial implications of Roman's extended absence are apparently driving these irresponsible medical decisions. Internal WWE documents show massive projected revenue losses if Roman can't return to active wrestling within their preferred timeline. But those same documents also show the potential financial catastrophe if Roman returns too early and suffers additional injuries that prove his previous injuries weren't properly healed. The insurance implications alone could bankrupt the company. Yet they're still pushing for accelerated recovery timelines that prioritize short-term business needs over Roman's long-term health and safety. The leaked conversations between Roman's family and WWE management reveal the pressure they're putting on him to make decisions based on business considerations rather than medical advice. They're essentially asking him to gamble with his brain and spine to protect WWE's bottom line. "We know this is a difficult situation," one WWE executive tells Roman's family, "but Roman has always been a company man who understands the bigger picture. We're hoping he'll consider what's best for the business and the fans who are counting on his return." They're using emotional manipulation to convince Roman to risk permanent disability for the sake of corporate profits. They're making him feel guilty for prioritizing his own health over WWE's financial interests. The psychological pressure being applied to Roman while he's dealing with serious injuries is unethical and potentially illegal. They're taking advantage of his vulnerable condition to convince him to make decisions that could ruin his life. Meanwhile, the public relations campaign to downplay Roman's injuries continues with increasingly desperate messaging. WWE's social media accounts keep posting generic updates that reveal nothing about his actual condition while maintaining the illusion that everything is fine. The contrast between these public messages and the leaked medical documentation is staggering. They're literally creating a completely false narrative about Roman's condition while the reality is that his career and long-term health are in serious jeopardy. The leaked footage from Roman's current medical treatment shows him struggling with basic physical therapy exercises that should be simple for someone with minor injuries. He can barely complete movements that would be effortless for a healthy person, yet WWE continues claiming his condition is not serious. The physical therapy notes that leaked reveal the extent of his current limitations. Patient shows significant weakness in core stability and experiences severe pain with basic range of motion exercises, one report states. Cognitive function testing shows concerning deficits in memory and concentration. These are not the medical notes of someone with minor injuries who will be returning to professional wrestling anytime soon. These are the notes of someone dealing with serious trauma that requires extensive rehabilitation with no guarantee of full recovery. But WWE's latest public statement claimed that Roman is making excellent progress and looking forward to returning to action. The disconnect between reality and their public messaging is complete. The leaked phone conversations between Roman and WWE officials show them coaching him on what to say if anyone asks about his condition. They're literally scripting his responses to medical questions to maintain their false narrative. If anyone asks about your injuries, just say you're feeling better every day and can't wait to get back, one official instructs him. Don't mention any specific symptoms or treatments. Keep it positive and vague. They're asking Roman Reigns to lie about his own medical condition to protect their corporate interests. They're more concerned about stock prices and fan reactions than they are about his actual health and recovery. The medical specialists who have reviewed Roman's case independently have expressed shock at WWE's handling of the situation. Multiple doctors have stated that the injuries Roman sustained require complete rest and extensive rehabilitation, not the accelerated timeline WWE is pushing. This is not how you treat serious brain and spinal injuries, one neurologist explains in leaked audio. The pressure to return quickly could result in permanent disability or even life-threatening complications if there's re-injury to already damaged tissue. But WWE continues pushing their timeline while ignoring medical expertise because they're more concerned about their business than Roman's life. The insurance investigation into Roman's injuries has apparently uncovered evidence that WWE's safety protocols were inadequate for the type of attack that was planned. The company may face significant liability for failing to protect their performer adequately. But instead of taking responsibility for their failures, they're trying to minimize the severity of Roman's injuries to reduce their potential legal and financial exposure. They're literally endangering Roman's health to protect themselves from lawsuits. The leaked legal consultation notes show WWE's attorneys advising them to maintain the minor injury narrative to limit their liability exposure. They're being told that admitting the true severity of Roman's condition could result in massive legal and financial consequences. So they're choosing to lie about Roman's condition rather than face the consequences of their inadequate safety measures and poor decision-making during the attack. The moral bankruptcy of this decision is staggering. They're willing to risk Roman Reigns' long-term health and career to protect their corporate interests and avoid taking responsibility for their failures. Meanwhile, Roman is trapped in this web of lies and corporate manipulation while dealing with injuries that could affect him for the rest of his life. He's been convinced that telling the truth would hurt the business and disappoint the fans, so he's participating in his own medical cover-up. The psychological toll of this situation on Roman is evident in the leaked conversations with his family. He's dealing not only with serious physical injuries but also with the stress of maintaining a false narrative about his condition. "I hate lying to the fans," Roman tells a family member in leaked audio. "They deserve to know the truth about what happened to me. But everyone keeps telling me that being honest would hurt the business and upset people." The guilt and stress of participating in this cover-up while dealing with serious injuries is clearly affecting Roman's mental health on top of his physical problems. WWE is causing additional psychological damage while he's trying to recover from trauma. The leaked medical notes show that Roman's doctors have recommended psychological counseling to help him deal with the stress of his situation, but WWE has reportedly discouraged this treatment because they're afraid of what he might reveal in therapy. They're literally preventing Roman from getting mental health treatment because they're afraid he might tell a therapist the truth about his condition and their cover-up. They're prioritizing their corporate secrets over his psychological well-being. The level of control WWE is exerting over Roman's medical care and personal decisions is unprecedented. They're essentially holding his career hostage to ensure his compliance with their false narrative about his injuries. The leaked contracts and legal documents show that WWE has structured Roman's medical coverage and future employment in ways that make him financially dependent on maintaining their preferred story about his condition. If Roman were to speak publicly about the true extent of his injuries or WWE's handling of his medical care, he could face significant financial penalties and loss of future employment opportunities. They've essentially bought his silence through financial coercion. This type of manipulation of an injured performer is potentially illegal and certainly unethical. They're using Roman's vulnerable position to ensure his participation in a cover-up that serves their interests while potentially harming his health. The leaked communications show WWE officials discussing how to maintain control over Roman's narrative while he recovers. "We need to make sure he stays on message," one executive